This is the result of me trying to spend the whole night while making a box out of this copper strip that I got for purposes. So this is a tiny little box I 3D printed. Definitely not a crafts project, but still. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make an inner box out of copper for shielding from electromagnetic interference, and I've been failing very badly at it for some reason. So my original plan involved cutting copper strips like this to the right size so that they fit inside this 3D printed enclosure thing, and then soldering them together, which resulted in this, which of course doesn't fit. And soldering was a massive pain. I can't even blast the whole thing with hot air because it's all going to fall apart, because every single edge here is supposed to be soldered, and the copper strip I have is not an exact fit for the dimensions of this box. So I guess I have to come up with something now. So I happen to have this old beauty of a book, and coincidentally, it has a section on how to join metal by soldering, which is basically the same thing that I'm trying to do. So if we zoom in, it suggests using a soldering iron and some solder, but that obviously wasn't enough. So I'm going to try doing this. Okay, focus. That should be fine. So I'm going to try and do this. I'm going to hold it over a gas flame till the solder melts, but I have to figure out how to hold the two edges together, because that is the biggest problem I've been having. Cutting the pieces into the right shape is not a problem, but holding them at exactly 90 degrees is a massive problem. And this book says, what does it say? Hmm. It says, I guess I'll be needing some kind of a joint then. Of course, the solder will run in between two the two pieces, but then I have to find a way to hold them together. I wonder what I can do, or maybe I can just bend one piece like this and then make it overlapping. That would be easier, but then dimensional accuracy suffers. Ha! I'm an electrical engineer, not a metal worker. Why does this have to be so hard? Oh, and also this book seems to have a part about preserving plants in resin. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? If there's one thing I've learned, that is how to properly burnish pieces of metal, if that's what you call it, to remove the bendiness and these sharp edges. You're not removing the edges, you're just making them slightly flatter. So I take my needle nose pliers, put the metal strip on my table, and just, ouch, try to flatten it out, kind of like rolling dough, but a little harder. Do it on both sides to make the piece nice and flat. A little bit for the edges, and it looks good. Hope it fits. Yeah, it does. It's a bit tight, but it does fit. Maybe I should take off a little material on the side. Just a tiny strip. What's up with that crow? There we go. It should be much better now. And another problem is cutting it square, which I don't seem to have achieved yet. Okay, much better. Not very tight, but adequate nevertheless. What I have to do now is to cut another strip, but this time slightly thinner so that it fits on the side. And then I have to solder those two together somehow to make the base. I I'll be needing approximately the same amount of material. So I just roll this out, put this over here, and use that as a rough cutting guide. Hopefully lined up. Quite hard to do this from behind the camera. I draw a line using my this thing, and I cut exactly on top of the line. There you go. And do the same thing I did last time. Well, they look close enough. One is ever so slightly smaller, but I guess that can be fixed. So I think this was the original that fits fine, and this should be the one I made right now, which is a little tight. Okay, it's a bit too tight, so as usual, shave off a little bit of material from the side. And there we go, perfect fit again. So now I have to figure out the right dimension for the. I could just overlap, but that kind of looks ugly, doesn't it? Or maybe it doesn't make that much of a difference. Should I overlap or should I not? Overlap seems to be the most viable option, so I guess I'll just sand these two edges and solder them together just like this. And that should make a good base. Hopefully. Why doesn't it line up? Okay, there you go. It does. Hmm. I think this side looks a little flatter. So I put that there. Let's not make it too tight. Draw a line to mark the edge. It's not perfectly aligned, of course, but it will have to do. And now I lost track of the edges. I think it was this side. Now I have to hold these two together somehow. Again, I'm sure I had a clamp and solder them together. I think I'll have to move this to the gas stove somehow. Using the gas stove did work, but then making that right angle joint was a massive pain. I tried to make it using this thing, but then I wasn't able to get the alignment right, so I had to give up. So instead, what I did was I tried bending again, but this time using my right angle guide made using two old PCBs, which I hope are straight. I did succeed. These bends look quite square, and it does fit quite well inside this. I have one last bend left. I thought I'd do it on camera. So let's see how it goes. Hopefully I've got my bend position marked correctly. If I mess this up, just another bunch of copper wasted. So let me get my needle nose pliers and bend somewhere and pray that the force is with me so that this thing comes out proper. That looks good. And bend. Now I did mention using that right angle guide, and yet I am bending it with my needle nose pliers. That's because the bending guide is only to straighten out the joints, I mean the bends, using my PCB ruler. So just force it against the 90-degree turn. It's not turn, 90-degree corner. And hopefully it's square enough. to fit well. Moment of truth, and it does not. Oh wait, does it? It doesn't. Well, it kind of does. I guess I'll just have to snip off this part carefully. Oh boy, household noises. Somewhere over here. A little bit in excess so I can trim it later. Don't I won't make the same mistake I did last time of trimming off too much. It kind of fits. Some part of it does seem to be a little longer or shorter than it has to be, but the fit is much better than last time. It's ouch, stab myself. Much tighter, and I guess tighter is always better. Maybe not. So I think this part has to be made a little smaller. Nice, now it's stuck. Now which side was it? It wasn't this side. This side fits fine. It wasn't this side either. Was it this? No. Was it this? Still no. It seems to be fine. But then, is it the way I'm putting it in? Okay, no, you know what? This is actually quite good. I think I'll just go with this one. Just a little trimming needed. Hopefully that'll make it, ouch, better. This thing is sharp. But which part of it should I trim? Hmm. Maybe take a small bit off of this end. Hopefully I'll be able to solder it back together. If this doesn't work, I'm going to be very sad. Now, why doesn't this end want to go into the box? It seems fine. What kind of a weird problem is this now? I worked so hard for nothing. Is it better now? Does it fit? It doesn't want to go all the way in. That's annoying. Or perhaps I should just temporarily tape this end together. Let's see if that does the trick. Almost there. Very tight fit. Or maybe not at all. Once again, it seems to fit perfectly in every way. Except the way I want it. Maybe try sliding it in. Okay, yeah, perfect. That's a big relief. It seems to go in perfectly fine. And I still have the bottom to finish. I guess what I'm going to do is I'll just take a big piece like this, make two bends and put it in, solder it from the inside. That should be the easiest option. Oh, and I'm yet to solder this part. I guess I'll have to do that first. And it finally looks like this thing is done. Oh, it's still hot. Okay, yeah, it's quite hot. Anyways, I think this thing is finally done. And the Kapton tape I used to hold this together while heating it on top of the gas stove did a very commendable job of not burning. So this isn't exactly airtight, but I hope it gets the job done. It looks really ugly right now. I'll have to do a lot of cleaning up using isopropyl alcohol and this cloth. There's a lot of flux residue and other stuff. Well, it only took this much of a mess to finish it. Now I have to clean this mess up as well. Let's see. I hope all this stuff comes off. The- Okay, maybe not. Looks like the copper is going to have to stay dirty. At least I'll get rid of the flux this way. I guess I'll clean it up later. But the main question is, does it fit? Well, it does. So I guess that's an absolute win. It only took one day.